Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Mr. Vice President, I'm going off script again, I know, but I just want to personally thank you. We've been through some stuff. We've gone through some of the most complex military operations this country's ever conducted, and your steady hand and your leadership during those was a great source of strength for me. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your character. Thank you for your selfless service. Thank you for commitment. Thank you for being a mentor to me, Mr. Vice President.
It's called the swamp. And you know what happened? And you know what I did? A big favor. I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. Nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it. Did I get that one right? Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government, while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
This is a president of the United States who is a danger to the republic.
America first.
He knows he's an illegitimate president.
The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans.
The great Trump recovery.
America will never be a socialist country. I will fight for you with every breath in my body.
Russia, Russian, pro-Russian, Russian, the Russians.
Russia.
And I will never, ever let you down.
A dangerous virus is spreading rapidly in China, and U.S. officials are very worried that it could come here.
This is really the worst attack we've ever had. This is worse than Pearl Harbor. This is worse than the World Trade Center. There's never been an attack like this.
The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. What they're doing is using COVID to steal an election. Together, we will make America strong again. You know what it's about? Fraud, fake ballots. We will make America wealthy again. They are trying to steal the election.
Now, under the leadership of President Trump, we are fully realizing President Kennedy's prescient view of Special Operations Forces.
We will make America proud again. And watch, please, those mail-in ballots. We will make America safe again. And in millions and millions of ballots. Their vote is under what they thought they needed. They're dumping more ballots in there, okay? And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you. God bless you. If we are right about the fraud, Joe Biden can't be president.
Congress, the chair declares the joint session dissolved.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Devolution Power Hour. As always on Wednesdays, I am joined by my co-host, Burning Bright. Burning Bright, how you doing, sir?
I'm solid, as you might say.
You said before the show
Usually
you were
means
tired.
I am, yeah. Well, when
So
you
you're not
say
solid.
solid, it's usually not good.
Is that what it means?
Yeah, depends. You've got two different solids that you say. Sometimes you say that's solid when you're like, I'm really happy with what you're doing. Like, I couldn't be happier. And other times you're like, I'd rather just not talk about this anymore.
I've never used solid as in like the negative connotation.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay, fine. Well, I'm a little tired, but otherwise, I'm solid.
There you go. Totally fixed the entire thing.
Yep.
Yeah, interesting week. We're in, this is the first power hour we've had since the government shut down. I'm honestly surprised.
Oh my
like,
God.
the world hasn't ended yet without a government.
Yep, it's pretty crazy. I mean, that's how many shutdowns have we been sort of threatened with / promised with over the last
A lot. I feel
few
like
years?
I said maybe this is the time. No less than like 100 times.
Yep. And I think our key that we'll get into more, our key sort of supposition every time it's almost shut down has been, I feel like you might not really notice.
Yeah.
And, I mean,
But
so
there's
far,
there's a key difference because the shutdown and default are two different things. And this is something that I was thinking about yesterday. It's like, okay, we have the shutdown. We've been through a lot of shutdowns. We had 3 shutdowns in Trump's first term.
Yeah.
And then before that, there was like 2013, and you go on the list. Like shutdowns are not that uncommon. It's the default. That's the one that Trump said we're going to get at some point. And I think I have that clip somewhere. Like at some point, you're going to have to default. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I don't have that clip. I thought I did. There's like the clip. Everybody's seen it. It's like, at some point you're going to have to default.
he called our boy Jerome an obstructionist earlier today. Did you see that?
No. That's awesome, though. Yeah, pull that up.
He referred to Jerome Powell. He usually just calls him too late Jerome, but he was feeling a little saucy today. And I don't know, in light of what you just said and in light of the shutdown, I really believe that Jerome Too Late Powell is an obstructionist.
I like that.
October 1st. So is that perhaps related to the default thing you're talking about? I mean,
well, no, because I don't know if we're actually going to default at any point. The default has to do with the debt ceiling, and I don't know if we have another one of those votes coming up for a couple of years. But it's one of those things. We've been keen on something like this, like a shutdown or a default or whatever, for so long, because at some point we think there's going to have to be a situation that takes place that kind of resets the financial system in some way. But then on the flip side of that, we've also been talking about, well, we think these things have to happen, and we think we know what the solution to those things are, but also Trump is operating in the normie battle space, and he does not appear to want to veer away from that. And so all these solutions that he's putting forth are like, we're genuinely going to pay down our $38 trillion in debt through tariffs, and that's going to make everything better. And I don't like that. That's not quite the rip the Band-Aid off approach that I would be in approval of.
well, I think the Powell thing is actually tangentially related, because keep in mind, it's one of the most normie questions ever if you start talking about the debt, U.S. debt, and people are like, well, who are we in debt to? Now, we're not in debt to just one entity, but we are supposedly heavily in debt to the Federal Reserve, right? That's who issues debt. And as everybody has talked about a million times in the info war, they are a private institution, unconstitutional, all the rest of it. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it's related to the government shutdown. I don't think it is necessarily. But when you're talking about default and Trump saying, basically not really worrying about the default is part of why he's not worried about it, because he is basically getting closer and closer to calling the people we are in debt to criminals, which may tie into executive orders that we've talked about for a long time.
Yeah, 2/3 of the national debt roughly 24 trillion is held by private investors, which includes mutual funds, banks, state and local governments, pension funds, and individuals. And then federal trust funds and retirement programs like Social Security and military retirement is about 20%. And then the Federal Reserve System is like 12%.
Mm-hmm.
And then foreign banks are foreign investors and foreign banks hold the rest. So that right there is what? 24 plus 20, that's 44. Plus 12, 56% is.
Well, see, even that though, and I don't know, but I'd have to.
Oh no,
I'd have to dig more into it.
Wrong.
But even if you're talking about the 12% from the Federal Reserve directly, I mean, the U.S. Treasury, which sounds like it's most of what you were talking about, is the Federal Reserve is issuing the currency. So, you know, it's kind of like a matryoshka doll where all debts, you know, you go take out a loan from your local bank, you're in debt to your local bank, but your local bank is in debt to the Treasury, which is in debt to the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, sure.
And, you know, I think that's why they play these shell games.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. But again, this specific shutdown, I don't think is related to that. The whole thing is retarded, guys. The longer I see this play out, and it's only been a day, not even, but the longer this plays out, the more stupid I think it is. And I already thought it was really, really stupid in the first place. Like the memes, like we're going to meme you with a sombrero on your head until you vote to pass the clean CR, Hakeem Jeffries. Like they're not taking this seriously, and they shouldn't.
And Trump, yeah, right.
But it's ridiculous. I'm just more surprised that the Democrats are actually playing along here for whatever reason. They are being absolutely stupid with this. They're getting eaten up alive in the polls, whether you believe them or not, over whose fault it is for the shutdown.
Yeah.
But it makes no sense. It makes no logical sense for their side of things to do it. They're clearly the obstructionists here. Like the bill is there, it's clean, whatever. It doesn't have all the stuff they want. That is what it is. You didn't steal enough votes in the last fraudulent election. You got to steal more next time. And by stalling, it's making them look worse if that's possible. But well, anyway.
Yeah, and I think, well, I don't know if we wanted to. Are we going to do more on this topic?
We can if you'd like to.
Okay. Yeah, well, on that point, I mean, on it being stupid, it feels like that's the point. Like there's sometimes where we're not really sure, do they want us to be taking X narrative super seriously, and we're not because we're bored of it. With this one, I think it was last night that Trump posted that picture of Hakeem Jeffries and whoever else in his office. And he's got the MAGA hats on the desk, and just the demeanor that he has in that photo, the fact that he's the one posting it, he's basically treating it. Let me try to grab it. He's treating it like the clown show that it is. I don't know who else that is next to him. I know there's other angles of it. Mike Johnson was in there, I think, and Chuck Schumer.
There's this one.
Yeah, that was the one I was thinking of.
Well, that's JD Vance to his left.
Okay. Jeffries. Then I think Schumer was in there in the other
Schumer.
photo. Yeah.
Mike Johnson, John Thune. And in the background, there's other people too. I think they're in this picture. Yeah.
So I think if we didn't think there was anything deeper going on here in light of the Devolution Power Hour and all the rest of the stuff we talked about in the info war, these would be the type of posts out of the president that would infuriate people like us, I think, because they're treating this, the just demeanor, these photos kind of just encapsulate the clown show of going beyond whether or not we agree with the continuing resolution and all this shit, and the fact that they're talking about pork bills and all that, and they've been doing it for years, as you've been saying, on again, off again relationship with the government existing or being active or not. It's somewhat surreal, I think, for a lot of normies to look at photos like this and see that there's a few guys in a room essentially arguing over whether or not what we are told is the most important thing in the country keeps being funded. And obviously this is, they're representatives of the other representatives in Congress, but it's clownish. You've got Trump clowning on them. And I think because we think that there's a lot of other stuff going on here, I take this stuff as trolling, encouraging and basically Trump treating these people and treating Congress itself as the clown show that it is. And I think the only thing that feels a little different about this one than some of the others is the fact that, you know, they're threatening, they've been threatening since before the shutdown to use it as an opportunity to purge a lot of, to cut a lot of things that that ordinarily they wouldn't be able to do without passing it through Congress.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. You know, Saturday we talked a little bit about this. We were kind of still like, yeah, it's probably going to be a rug, and now we're at a point where you can't really call it a rug if we're actually in the shutdown mode. But this goes back to HR1 that was passed, you know, earlier this year. Everybody was like so excited about, oh, just pass HR1 or we're going to lose the midterms and all these things, cheerleading it along. But when you actually read what was in that bill, and at the time that's what I did, and I was posting about how like this bill sucks. There's like 10 things in here that are really good that Trump got a couple things for his agenda in here. The rest of this bill is bullshit. And people were like pissed at me about it. And I'm like, I'm just telling you the truth, guys. This bill sucks. There's got to be a way now for Trump to get rid of the stuff that sucks in here, because he's not stupid and he knows that there's sucky things in there. But also being in government, like that's how they do it. One person gets a good thing that they want, but then the other side of the aisle, they get to get a shitty thing that they want. And it goes back and forth until you get this huge pork-filled bill that gets pushed through. And initially it was, okay, we're going to use the Impoundment Control Act, I think 1974 or whatever, and that's going to be the method. And they talked about that. Russ Vought talked about that. And then they went to pocket rescissions. I was like, okay, yes, it's pocket rescission, everything. And Trump did it for one thing, like $10 billion or something, wasn't enough. But now, with us being in a shutdown, like it's like Russ has been activated. The OMB has been activated.
Yeah.
We're told. So nothing's happened yet, but we're told like their chess piece here is, now that we're shut down, we're going to fire everybody, and not just like, not furlough, but we're actually going to do a reduction in force where these people don't come back to work. And now's our opportunity to cut a lot of this bloat that was in the original bill. Do they actually do it though? That's the question. We haven't seen it yet. So we don't know how long this shutdown's going to last. They held another vote today. Who knows? I think they took a break after the vote today for Yom Kippur, so they won't be back for. That's not a joke. That's legit. They're taking a break.
The timing.
They're taking a break until after Yom Kippur, the Jewish holiday, and we'll talk about the Jews here a little bit later in the episode. So I don't know. At least till after that, I think that maybe next week. There's betting sites out there that's like, oh, this is going to end up being the longest one in history. We really have no idea, and there's no way to know. But I hope they capitalize on it and get rid of as many government employees as possible, get rid of as much government spending as possible, get rid of it all. Like I will not lose an ounce of sleep.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think that's the baseline that most of us are operating with, certainly in this layer of the info war. If you know what the info war is, then you're probably close to there. You might not think we need no government at all or no infrastructure or whatever. Maybe you do. But you're certainly far on the outer edges of the Overton window of how much you think we require the federal government in its form. And, you know, I think the encouraging thing here, this could be a rug after a rug, right? The initial rug pull was not a rug pull, but they might be pulling the rug that we're standing on is on. That would be the second rug you're talking about. I do expect that one. I think we are going to get rugged in terms of Russ vote. But I still am not dooming about it, because it seems clear that 2025, we've talked about this in various contexts the whole year, from the Doge deployment to the whole drama leading up to shutdowns, all the negotiations with Trump and Johnson's packages and all this kind of crap. And now with this very real shutdown, one of the core themes of 2025, if not the theme out of the Trump administration, seems to be really provoking that public debate, American debate, on what the government is and what the government does, right? Because if you talked to like anybody who comes to a GART about what they envision the future of the U.S. government being, if they want one, you're probably going to be talking about national defense. Like that's probably going to be
a baseline,
right? Maybe if you go beyond that, you might start talking about disputes between states, like that, you'd get into that kind of territory, right? Almost the federal government as a referee. But largely, it would be about the nation and its relationship to the outside world. And I think that what the administration and its battles this year, and Elon Musk and Doge have played a huge role in this, have amplified like never before, is what the government is actually doing every day, which is administration, right? Like the fact that we use the word administration to define the government is not good. That's kind of like a Freudian slip of bureaucracy. And all of the stuff that Trump and team are threatening with the OMB and everything, and going back to Doge and beyond, it's all administration. Yeah. It's never national defense or anything like that. And in fact, that's kind of the other topic, which I'm sure you've been talking about all week on your show, but the contingency plans and all of that. Yeah. It shows you that while Trump is basically clowning on the administrative state and the administrative bureaucracy that our government has become and threatening it openly, cultivating mandate maybe along the way, he's drawing a line of demarcation between that version of the government and the military.
Yeah, what you said there, it really kind of hit home for me. What our government has become truly is just a bunch of people, social media influencers that get in a room and they do the thing they need to do to post to social media, and that's it. They don't actually do anything of substance. They aren't actually the ones making any of the decisions. They got their handlers above them, all of them. And they never actually go far enough to do anything of actual substance. And Rick Scott tonight, or earlier today, or last night, I don't remember when it was, but I talked about it on my show today. It's a great example of this. He gets on an interview with Fox News and he says, you know what, while the government shut down, I think it's just ridiculous that we're even taking a paycheck. We shouldn't be paid when the government is shut down and all these things. And that is a publicity stunt. That is a talking point. And it's a bad one at that, because if you actually get to the first principles of the argument of whether or not our government officials should be paid based on whether they're working, it's not just that, it's whether they're actually doing the job that they're supposed to be doing. And the job that they're supposed to be doing, bare minimum, like we talk about, is security and whatnot. But just like any business, and this is again the point I made on my show, any business that you're working at, if you run a deficit year over year, you're eventually going to go bankrupt and shut down, and then nobody's going to make money. Like, you don't get paid that way. Yet our government, we have $38 trillion in debt, and all of our government and elected officials are still getting paid. We have some states that are in debt and run deficits. They're still getting paid. Like, to me, the first principles of whether or not our government officials should even get paid at all is whether or not they run a surplus. And the second if your Congress, like, so let's say, what are we in, the 119th Congress right now or something? If they run a deficit, they should not be allowed to seek re-election ever again. If you are part of a Congress that cannot do a net surplus budget, you're out of there. You are clearly not working for the American people. You're not doing your job. You got to get out of there. But this whole shutdown, all it is, just like everything else, is political theater. And if there's one good thing about it, it's that it's really exposing that. And Trump is literally using sombreros to do so. And that's what I think is so funny. Like, he is making fun of a guy who's not even Mexican, I don't think I think he's African-American or something. He's posting him in a sombrero, and he's like, Hakeem Jeffries getting pissed. Like, this is so racist. Like, what is racist about that, Hakeem Jeffries? You're not Mexican, one, but why is the sombrero itself, like, why is putting that on somebody a racist thing? What about that is racist? It's retarded. But the whole thing is theater. It's stupid.
Yeah, well, and that was kind of my point about the mood or the demeanor of Trump posting these kind of things that you're talking about. He is the one, if we want to take a white pill out of the fact that it's political theater, Trump is enjoying the theater and is the one who's really calling attention to the fact that it is theater. And to go back to your other point about what the government does now, or what most people understand the government does, or rather what people in the government do, is the government is theater, right? So yes, this is theater. This is clearly political theater of the whole shutdown and the negotiations and all of that. But I think what Trump is really getting across is that your government has been this for a long time. And so he is, the way I kind of see it is, Trump is essentially treating the government with the respect it deserves, which is none. And it's kind of ironic. I had kind of posted, I think it was last night, I posted something like, if a government shuts down in the forest and nobody gives a shit, was there a government, right? Just stupid. Like, if this is how the ostensibly the leader of the government, in so many words, is treating the government, then what are we doing here? And I think that is the point that Trump is making. And the other point I'd make on, the controller budget and the Office of Budget Management and all that.
Budget. Jesus.
Management budget. The OMB. The OMB.
The OBM.
I don't know how this authority, I don't know how the mechanisms all work. I'm sure that's it. I'm sure the longer this stretches, which is why I hope it does stretch, the more that argument is going to be in the public narrative in terms of what they are allowed to cut and in what order. And I wonder if that starts to rub up against national essential functions, which takes us to the continuity of government contingency plans. I know they didn't say continuity of government, but they said contingencies.
No, they said continuity of operations, which is a type of continuity of government plan. So, I mean, it's different context for it, and we'll get into that. I just want to, this is the meme that everybody's freaking out about.
Look, guys, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Nobody likes Democrats anymore. We have no voters left because of all of our woke trans bullshit. Not even black people want to vote for us anymore. Even Latinos hate us. So we need new voters. And if we give all these illegal aliens free health care, we might be able to get them on our side so they can vote for us. They can't even speak English, so they won't realize we're just a bunch of woke pieces of shit, at least for a while until they learn English and they realize they hate us too.
So funny.
They already do, I would argue. But
I would too. I want to talk a little bit about the Russ Vought stuff. We do got to get to our sponsors for tonight's show. I also have a couple Rumble rants I want to read here quick. I'm going to try to be better about reading the rants as they come up and they're like relevant to the discussion. S2G109 says, in California, we voted to have the legislature not get paid and fined per day for not having a balanced budget. The voters did the right thing. The government has complied. I did not know that. And that is surprising to me that they allowed that to even go through in California of all places.
To get fined per day.
Yeah, that's great. Do the government officials themselves personally get fined for that? Because that is awesome if that's the case. I mean, especially the context of those people stealing elections to get themselves in there in the first place, and then they personally get fined for doing it.
Well, it's an interesting idea because it's not just the withholding of reward or it's not just the incentive structure being removed temporarily. It's a disincentive structure being enacted. And you would see this in something like the military. You'd see this in law enforcement. Law enforcement maybe is a little bit different depending on, like what your jurisdiction is, state versus local. But from the military perspective, you can't just fuck off. You don't get to just be like, I'm not coming into work today. It's like, you're going to get court-martialed, son, if you don't come into work today. Maybe that's what we start doing with the government. I mean, and, they actually kind of seeded that sort of thing with the whole, remember a couple of months ago, it was like the Texas Democrats that were, scampering around the country. They were sort of threatening stuff like that. So,
yeah, I actually interviewed a guy, Representative Schatzline. He's really good. He's a former pastor. He had one of the best answers I've ever gotten for the why are we paying taxes question. But yeah, he was part of that. He kind of outlined that story. Like these people, they wanted to do some redistricting down there in Texas, and everybody's like, no, we're leaving. And so they went to Illinois I think it was Pritzker who invited them. And so then they got the sergeant at arms and the FBI to, maybe it was I don't remember. They got somebody there to like, okay, we're going to issue subpoenas and you guys have to come back here. We're going to fine you $500 a day. Your travel cannot be fundraised for and all this stuff. And they ended up coming back and voting on it. So it is what it is. One more comment from the chat, the Rumble rant from Harry Vetch. And he posted this on my Daily Herald show. And I do think it's a funny comment.
Yeah.
John, I told you if we all stand on the rug, they couldn't pull it. And why I think that's so funny is because it's actually the opposite. The more people that stand on the rugs like these, the narrative rugs, the more likely it is that not only will they pull that rug, but that they'll lay out more rugs for you to pull on. Once if there's a rug there in front of us and nobody stands on it, one, it doesn't matter if they pull it, but two, it's less likely that they're going to lay another rug and another rug and another rug. That's my
you can't be, the rug can't hurt you if you're not standing on it. But it's funny actually when he said that, because I saw that come across too. I agree with how you just laid that out, but I had initially kind of agreed with Harry, and I guess it depends on what you're looking at the rugs as. If you're looking at the rugs as being deployed by our side, which I would say they are, then on one level, I think you're right. Defecting from standing on the rug is the move, but there might be a way of twisting that around. For example, if standing on the rug means the American people really making known their mandate, which is what we always talk about, Trump is definitely going after, is that getting off the rug, or is that them all doing what Harry is saying and all standing on it and saying like, no, you listen up, motherfuckers. This is what you're going to do now. I guess maybe it's getting off the rug, but it depends on how you're kind of framing it.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things. Do you remember when Chris made that meme, or he had that idea of like the decision tree and like the compounding effect of it? And then I had the meme of, it's like, okay, you can take the left paved path,
right,
or you can take the right gravel road. Both of them, the two narratives. The primary narrative is the paved one. The dirt road one is the alternative narrative, like the normie accepted, and that's like the
official
controlled opposition dynamic. But then in the middle, like there's this sign, and the sign is pointing either left or right, primary narrative, alternative narrative. But the sign is like in the middle of just a sidewalk, and you can choose to walk on the sidewalk. So we can either keep stepping on the rugs, or we can be like, we'll just walk here on the sidewalk and dig where we walk instead. But I do like what you said there about, I don't know if is it a white hat rug? I don't know how many rugs are white hat rugs or black hat rugs. I think we get a pretty good mix of those along the way. And that might be something, maybe we can talk about that maybe Sunday. Because I think
you're gonna be on the show? Good stuff.
I think so.
All right. Well, if you bail, then everybody. All right.
John's
going to be on the narrative Sunday night, so maybe we'll continue that. I'll remember that. But well, I don't want to go into that more than right now because that's a good discussion. But either way, I think we've talked a lot this year, and maybe especially in 2024 leading up to the election, about mandate, that key word, right? And
for you, maybe.
Clearly, this is a big part of what's going on with Trump. And then I think adjacent to that, if I want to talk about it on an actual level and not on a narrative level right now, mandate is mostly narrative. If we're talking about what could actually be going on here, it feels like Trump is trying to get across, the national essential functions that you've written about extensively is the government. And should be the government. And that, what I'm kind of interested to see, let's just say for the sake of argument, we do magically, ironically get a shutdown that lasts like a couple of months, a few months, to the point where the tension kind of is ratcheting and ratcheting and ratcheting. I expect that in that scenario, there's going to be daily, weekly, huge arguments that are amplified and deployments from the OMB. From Trump and from the OMB, right? I don't think it's this thing where if we have a 60-day and 90-day government shutdown, they're just going to be like, well, these are the things that are getting cut. We're on day 3. This is what's getting cut. This is what's going to continue. I think it's going to be a death by 1,000 cuts sort of thing. On an actual level, I think they really will start cutting programs. That's the second rug that I'm going to stand on it for all of us. And in that scenario, they would actually be cutting spending, making cuts to the government, kind of doing, ironically, what the Doge deployment said it was going to do, but maybe having the authority to do it under these circumstances. And congruent or parallel to that, that would be an actual narrative hybrid. The actual would be these cuts. The narrative would be the constant argument in the public eye of what is being prioritized. and the American people would basically be participating in that. We don't have actual authority over it, but that would be a great sifting process to have happen, where they're talking about, if we get to next week and it's like, all right, we got to start cutting some stuff. We got to decide who's getting federal paychecks and who's not. That's an argument I think a lot of Americans are willing to have, not on a hypothetical ballot box scenario, but on a like, hey guys, the checks go out on Thursday. So like, we got to talk about this now of who's getting them.
Yeah, I have a lot to say on this. So number one, the way this shutdown works, like they passed HR 1 a few months back or whatever, and in HR 1, there is stuff that's funded almost indefinitely. I don't know if indefinitely is the right word for it, but it's like it's funded for many years, and that kicked in with HR 1. There's other things that the appropriations were like laid out there for, but they weren't specifically put in place. So like the programs are there, but the appropriations for it, the spending for it needs to be voted on. And that's the stuff that got shut down now. Like the stuff that was there is still aspects of the government that is funded and going on. Now, what you said there about the tension, like let's say this goes 30 days, 60 days, and there's this like tension building.
Yeah.
If there's any form of tension after 30 or 40 or 50 or 60, like the longer this goes on, any form of tension that is building, it's not real tension. And it's only coming from the elected officials and the media, because I really don't believe that any of the stuff that is being not funded right now is essential to the average American on a day-to-day aspect. Like there's not somebody other than a government employee who lost their job or is furloughed or whatever, permanent reduction in force. Other than those people who were directly getting a government paycheck, I don't think people are sitting there like, oh my God, the government's going to be shut down again. I don't know how I'm going to be able to go another day like this. Like I just can't handle it. That's not a real thing. Any tension is manufactured. And so with that being said, I think the longer it goes on, the better it is for people to understand that, like, yeah, why did we have any of those things funded in the first? Why do we need to even fund those things if literally my life has not changed? If anything, it's gotten better. And when it comes to like the things that get cut, the permanent cuts and everything, dang, I lost it. There's one more thing you said about the cuts.
Well, I was wondering how much control they have over like what order they can start cutting in, and if they start doing that as a process that's both actual and narrative. So like, amplifying the things that they're about to cut as they're going down the list.
Okay, yeah. So back in this was a while ago, February or March maybe, there was a story that came out, and this is back when Doge was, everybody was talking about Doge all day long. Doge was the huge thing. And it's kind of weird how all of a sudden nobody cares about Doge anymore. Now that they're not saving us any money at all, which I do a Doge tracker every day on my show. The first thing we talk about is no update on the Doge website. And over the past 2 updates, they've saved a total of like $3 billion in like a month and a half. It's ridiculous. But when Doge was all the rage, there was these, each of these executive departments were giving access to Doge, and we were getting people resigning from key positions, and we had Democrats suing, and it was kind of a shit show, honestly. But one of the key positions that quit, and the Treasury gave access to Doge, like his role and his like computer and all the data and everything, was the guy in charge of cutting checks if the government were to default. And this was about a month ahead of the debt limit debate. And so I was like, oh, this is the time, guys. Like Doge finally has access to this position. And if we default
you idiot.
I know. I've only done that exact same thing
as I just
times.
leapt onto a rug 5 minutes ago.
But that's what's interesting to me. Like, who's in charge of cutting the checks? And I said at the time, there's no better opportunity to show people like what is actually necessary to you from your government than in a situation where you have to, what you just said, like make the decisions of who's cutting the checks and what funds things are being funded. I don't think that's necessarily this situation right now, because the shutdown and debt limit defaulting, because default, like we literally have no money. You can only fund certain bare bone things that taxes cover, where shutdown, they just haven't voted to spend the money that the debt limit has made available to them. So again, different, but it is interesting. And I do want to get into the contingency plan stuff and what the DOD put out more specifically, because I do think that does kind of show us every one of these departments and I don't think it's on the website yet, which is interesting. All other previous administrations, they have on their website, the OMB anyway, every agency's contingency plans. But this administration, they don't have it. Russ Vought has like nothing on his website. The only one that I've seen come out so far is the DOD's because it was made public. But none of the other ones have it out there. But when you look at each of those contingency plans, it shows you like this is the actual bare bones of what we need to do. And these are like our priorities, the national essential functions.
Yeah.
And that's all we need from any of these agencies, if that.
Well, that a few things on that before we go deeper into the contingent, the COG stuff. First of all, that kind of sounds like we've talked about on the show before, zero-based accounting.
Yes.
And, you know, not just on an actual level, but again, on a narrative level, zero-based accounting. And that's kind of sounds like what you're describing. The idea of an operating budget is not only silly for the federal government, but directly against the American people. I mean, it's funded by the American people, right? The operating budget, we are told, is why they need to steal from us to the degree that they steal from us to keep an operating budget. So that's part of it. But I wanted to respond to a couple of things you said there. So one of the things that I just wrote down, one of the things I remember driving me insane, even when I was very young, starting to kind of tangentially understand politics, was every campaign, Democrats or Republicans, they would use two words whenever they were talking about the finances of the American people: kitchen table. They would talk about kitchen table arguments and kitchen table debates. Usually they were using that in the context of pandering to people because the rent was too damn high, or groceries were too high, or Republicans would say gas prices are too high, right? So they attack it from either side. Democrats say healthcare is too high. Republicans say oil is too high. As somebody who grew up at the time when I was a kid in a lower class in terms of money household, I watched my parents have kitchen table conversations about money. And I was much better off than people who didn't have any of that, who didn't have two parents, right? So it's always, I think, been a bit of a humiliation ritual when they use that terminology. And what's beautiful about what we're talking about here is, won't it be something if instead of Hakeem Jeffries and Mike Johnson sitting at the kitchen table and debating how much of our money they steal, the people that have kitchen tables, won't it be something if we are all sitting at a kitchen table and debating whether or not we are going to continue to fund them? And I think, obviously we as the American people don't necessarily have this direct power projection, but if that is the stance that Trump and Russ Vought and all these, if that's the stance that the administration takes, which narratively it is, that's them taking that stance on behalf of us. It's essentially inverting that humiliation ritual and saying, you motherfuckers have to justify to us. The American people are mom and dad now. We're at the kitchen table. We're balancing the household budget because it's our fucking house. It's not your house. And you are a part of that budget. And I think, it's just an inversion, but that would be great if we get, over the course of weeks, an escalating kitchen table argument where everybody at the cookout or wherever watching football on Sundays is arguing about which fucking government program to cut next.
I declare bankruptcy!
Kitchen tables everywhere.
That's it.
That's if we're distracted by the transurrection taking place on social media and everybody's just...
Well, are we funding trannies? We can cut the funding, and I think there will be no more trannies.
Will there be no more Daily Wire? I doubt it. But maybe...
No, because those are NGOs, though.
That's another thing we need to address, though, and we're going to talk about tonight, is the foreign funding of propaganda.
That's where the trannies are coming from.
And I found something interesting just as you were talking there, which we're going to get to. We really got to get to our sponsors, I think. I guess I don't know if we have any cash ads tonight, so maybe we don't. But I do want to play a little bit real quick. We we decided to be like more supportive of the other races here on the show. There's been some accusations of racism, so
right.
I decided, and we decided kind of as a whole, like let's address this and sell something that is approved by the black race.
I did a black movie last night on Story Hour. That was my choice.
Good job, guys.
Yeah,
I'm proud of you, man. But that goes right in line then with this product of ours.
Right.
So if you haven't yet, you got to try it out.
They say confidence starts with a smooth skin. And baby, Soft Disclosure Lotion delivers.
I swear by this stuff. Like, I kid you guys not. This is the first lotion I've ever had in my entire life that, like, I don't get ashy after I put it on any part of my body. Like, my hands are always dry, and my hands have not gotten ashy without, like, rinsing them through water and washing them with soap since I started putting Soft Disclosure on. Like, it is black man approved. I kid you not.
Black man approved. You heard him. And let's be real. If it can handle his hands, it can handle anything.
Feet are like, they get so dry, like the heels of them, it'll just kind of like flake off. Like, but with Soft Disclosure, once you put it on, like it starts to absorb it.
Yeah, he went there. Don't worry, we won't show you his feet, but trust us, they're smoother too. Soft Disclosure Lotion is made with aloe, goat's milk, honey, and our exclusive oil blend that actually restores your skin barrier. Visit softdisclosure.com, use code BADLANDS, and get 15% off.
Softdisclosure.com.
1.5 black guys in that commercial.
Yeah. If we would have got JB in there, we would have had all of our minority Badlanders.
Right. Yep.
So
Steph Asia asked when we're getting a token Asian, and I said that's the only race that all the other ones can agree on being racist against.
I suppose.
So
maybe that's true.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question. Probably never. Do gotta give a shout out to Inquisitor over on YouTube. Mainly, I mean, thank you for the gifted memberships over there. That's really appreciated. But I primarily want to give you a shout out for the avatar you have there. It's fantastic. Big fan. So thank you for that. There's a new Office like offshoot type show. Yeah. It's like some newspaper thing, and I just can't get myself to watch it.
It didn't look funny. I watched the trailer.
I just can't do it. So anyway, let's talk about, so I saw a couple people in the chat talking about if a shutdown actually initiates some sort of continuity of government, and not the kind that we're thinking of, and not the kind that we've discussed on this show. This is what the DoD put out the other day. It's their contingency plan guidance for a continuation of operations in the absence of available appropriations. What this does is outline the actual necessary things that will keep operating and get paid and funded while the government is shut down. And what this really does is, like we were saying earlier, it pretty much just provides us with what our military should be doing anyway. And it's all we really need them for. A lot of the civilian positions are not funded. Active war zones are still going. Only like very specific visits by foreign dignitaries, contractors. They can meet with contractors. They can write contracts. They just can't pay for them. But right here, this is the part that I think is most interesting. And to me, this is like the NEFs, the National Essential Functions, which we've talked about a lot on this show. When Trump implemented something, did you just change something?
I accidentally pressed some buttons that I meant to type into chat, and I don't know what I did.
Okay, well, this works for now. Maybe this is better. We'll leave it like this. So throughout the Devolution series, we've talked, especially my part 13.
Oh, crap.
Okay, now what are you doing?
How do I?
Okay, just stop pressing buttons. There we go.
All right, nice.
Which, by the way, devolution.link right now is not working, and GoDaddy is like struggling to figure out why. It's weird. It's like we've never seen this happen before, and I don't know what's going on. So if you want to, it's on my website, patel.patriot@substack.com. I don't even remember what my Substack is. Holy shit. patelpatriot.substack.com. Anyway, my part 13, it outlines like, okay, Trump is here. He's issued this executive order, which has tasked this committee with implementing and executing some sort of continuity government plan. It talks about reprioritizing the national essential functions, which are the 8 things that as a country we need to like maintain, and we don't know what they reprioritized and what order they're in, even if like just one of them is the case, like defend us from invasion or something. But this is the DOD telling us right here what their priorities are. And these are, this is all you really need. Like operations to secure the southern border. Of course, like defend our border. You don't have a country if you don't have a border. I'm surprised it just says southern. It should be all borders. Middle East operations. I'm not even 100% sure what Middle East operations we're actually doing anymore now that we're told we don't have Bagram Air Force Base. I don't even know if I believe that. The Golden Dome for America, again, self-defense. Depot maintenance. I'm assuming they're talking about Home Depot.
Yeah.
Shipbuilding, which Trump talked a lot about ships in his his speech.
Yeah. He wants them to look cooler.
Yeah, he's like, just because they don't have to be ugly to be like to be able to not show up on radar or something. That was hilarious. And
I love it because like any 7-year-old boy is like, that's my guy. That is my guy.
And then critical munitions, like obviously we're told that through the Ukraine war, we've given so much of our munitions away, like we were almost out of munitions. So I do want to find that clip now. Trump.
I do like Chad is saying, what a dig at Canada. It's like nobody's going to invade them. Don't worry about it. Yeah. It's they're not important. Like, what about the border with us?
Here we go. Well, Trump also, again, for the first time in a while, brought up Canada being the 51st state, which I think is funny.
That's why there's no northern border.
Yeah, it kind of goes to show, though, like the way Trump operates, like he'll push a narrative until he accomplishes whatever goal he's trying to accomplish with that narrative. And at the very beginning of his term, even leading up to him being in office, he was like, yeah, Canada's going to be the 51st state. And that was like a thing for 2 months. And then all of a sudden, he just never said it again. And it's like, okay, well, why is that? What did you accomplish? Something with tariffs, probably. But he brought it up at the speech. But this is the one that I think is so funny. He had a couple really good lines in this speech.
In the Second World War, they were freighters and different types, but we were doing a ship a day. And now we don't do ships. And I'm not a fan of some of the ships you do. I'm a very aesthetic person, and I don't like some of the ships you're doing aesthetically. They say, oh, that's not so. An ugly ship is not necessary in order to say you're stealth. By the way, the B-2 bombers were incredible. That is stealth. They went into that.
Stealth does not equal ugly. Those are words to live by.
I mean, he's either just fucking around, or couple things I could look at here if I want to 5D chess it. If we're going into an age of peace, are our military games going to really become more literal war games? I was talking to CanCon about this a couple of weeks ago. We've got these AI companies spinning up. Are we approaching a future where to mollify or pacify ironically, to pacify the bloodthirsty warmongers, we're going to have proxy wars being fought between robots, but not against human beings, in which case Trump wants it to look really cool. And the other thing would be the B-2 bomber, I think is largely designed after, what is it, like a peregrine falcon in flight?
Yeah, it's not like a bird.
Yeah, if you want to talk about aesthetics, I don't know. Maybe he's saying that part of the reason there's been perceived decline or alleged decline that military people talk about, whether it's like Chinese steel, or maybe it's the aesthetics as well. Like, hey, our stuff is too overly complicated. It's over-designed. It's over-engineered. And it's shitty. And we need to go back to beautiful simplicity. It's kind of interesting that he brings up the bomber, because I'm sure that it's incredibly complex to make that, but it looks simple. The design is simple.
I hope it's not too complex, because Boeing's the ones making it.
Oh, yeah.
Not even a freaking word.
It's aluminum.
Yeah. But yeah, there were a lot of really interesting things from that speech. He said there's one here that I think really fits with like everything that we've talked about. Well, I guess a couple of them. We can start with this one.
And they said, we'd like to name it the F-47. I said, all right, let me think about it. Then after thinking for about 2 seconds, I said, okay. You know, that means 47. I'm 47. So I'm 45, 46, and 47, if you think about it. I just don't want the credit for 46. I don't want to have their open borders and people coming in from all over the world, including jails and mental institutes. I don't want that on my record, but I like having it. And they said, we'd like to name it the F-47. I said,
I'll start it over. Whoops. Yeah, 46, 47.
Yeah.
We've talked about that. It's kind of the same vibe as when Trump, you know, I don't want the results of this second term.
Yeah.
I think that's a great clip.
He also, this is coming on, I think, was it a week ago? He posted the picture of first term headshot, current term,
Auto
and then
pen.
in the middle, the auto pen.
Yeah, we talked about that Saturday.
Yeah.
But I think the most interesting thing, and I talked about this a little bit, I think it was Saturday too, or was it Wednesday? I know we talked a little bit about the domestic terrorism, NSPM. And actually at the time, I don't think we knew it was an NSPM last week, did we? I think that was Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we talked about Trump's domestic terrorism executive order last Wednesday and how it was insufficient, right?
Yeah.
Well, fast forward like Wednesday night or Thursday, he put out that NSPM 7, which one revealed that NSPM 6 was classified, which I love when we get those because, you know, there's something juicy out there. What was it? But anyway, number 7 comes out and it outlines like it's all the teeth that was missing from the original executive order. So that alone was interesting. But then one of the things, the statutes that they list in there that they are going to pursue these people in terms of crime for is USC or 18 USC 241, which is something against civil rights. And or I can't remember, conspiracy against rights or something against rights. 18 USC 242, like one statute off, is the underlying crime that they're going after all the RICO Grande people for, deprivation of rights under the color of law. And so I think those two things are connected. That was like the point I made on my show, and with
201 you said was the other one?
241 and 242. It's deprivation of rights and deprivation of rights under color of law or something like that.
Okay.
And the difference being is like 242, the color of law, the basis of the RICO Grande is they are depriving people of their rights, and they're doing it while wearing either like a law enforcement, you know, uniform essentially, or they're elected officials. They're basically getting government money. The 241 is they're not getting government money, but if that's all it takes is to connect, like I think those two things are connected. Okay. And we've talked a lot over the years, and I constantly play that clip where it's, you know, these are the same weaponized agencies that for the last 7 years have been conducting illegal psychological warfare campaigns against the American people. Well, Trump made a very interesting comment during his Department of War speech, which I still don't buy, that they had to come, all these people had to come there just for the speech from Hegseth and
strange.
Trump. Hegseth's like, no fatties, and Trump comes out there and does like a campaign speech.
Yeah.
But a couple of the interesting things that he said, I think kind of hit home that point. And I'm gonna play these clips back to back. It's kind of hard to hear one of them just because of the clip I pulled for it, but I can play it again because I have it in our studio here on StreamYard. But listen to this.
We're under invasion from within. No different than a foreign enemy, but more difficult in many ways because they don't wear uniforms. Don't forget.
So we're under attack from within. No different.
Foreign enemy, no different than a foreign enemy, but more difficult in many ways because they don't wear uniforms.
We're under attack from within. No different than a foreign enemy, except more difficult because they don't wear uniforms. And then this is the clip I always talk about.
Don't forget, this persecution is being done by the same weaponized agencies that for 7 years have been running illegal psychological warfare campaigns against the American people, much as if they were trying.
Hold on, I'm going to play that one more time because the best part is right after that.
Don't forget, this persecution is being done by the same weaponized agencies that for 7 years have been running illegal psychological warfare campaigns against the American people, much as if they were trying to destabilize a foreign country. From the Russia.
So he talks about like not only are we almost like being invaded by a foreign country, but then he's the other side of it. Yeah, he's talking about like what we do to other people. He's describing the color revolution and the full scope of this. Two separate clips, years apart. I think that other clip was June of 2023 in Bedminster after the 37 count arraignment or whatever, or indictment that came down. But those two things are connected, and it just further cements home my point that I do think the domestic terrorism thing and the Antifa thing is going to end up connecting back to the RICO Grande case that has been going, that investigation that's been going on for a while now.
I'm actually working on an article this week called Nexus Point. That's literally about that, about just the convergence of the idea that, or rather, the idea is that the convergence of the reemergence of James Comey right before the statute of limitations, as we've talked about all week, George Soros, as I mentioned either last week or the week before on the Power Hour, he was seeding that in July. He was seeding it in August. A lot of people saw it as a response to September 10th and Charlie Kirk. It was not a response to that. He certainly amplified that messaging. And in fact, I think I made this point on the Power Hour. I felt like Trump actually redirected the conversation in the wake of Charlie Kirk back to NGOs, domestic terrorism, as you're talking about with Antifa. He really didn't focus it on, he focused it on far left extremism, but made sure to talk about NGOs and domestic terror networks and the funding of them, which the other two figures that I definitely noticed amplifying that to a huge degree were Stephen Miller and Devin Nunes.
Yep.
And this, the last few days, both of them have also been out there. I had a clip that our friend The Storm, I think I played it on Sunday night, The Storm has arrived, posted of Nunes talking about RICO, right? So you've got some of these players that are really, whatever their titles are now, we consider them really close in the orbit of what's actually going on with Donald Trump and read in on what's actually going on, right? So I look for them, I look at them as signal, but I totally agree. And, you know, it's funny, when you replay that second clip, I actually had never focused on that. The fact that in 2023, he's talking about an invasion of a foreign nation. You know, the most recent clip, he's obviously talking about the United States. He's saying we are being invaded. Yeah. But it is interesting that you point out that he's talking about, the psychological operations being conducted on Americans are as if we're a foreign nation. And I hadn't really thought about it in those terms, but absolutely. He's talking about not only is it the same template, but when you bring in these characters, and I've said this for a long time, I don't think George Soros is the Darth Vader. Like, I don't think George Soros is sitting atop the throne of the deep state, but he is a symbol. He's a symbol of how Trump is going to open that doorway into the apparatus of color revolutions abroad, which not only is going to tie into the FBI and James Comey and all that kind of stuff. James Comey is a very small fish in that pond. I'm looking forward to when we get back into the Obama State Department, because that's really, you know, when you're talking about color revolutions and everything, I can't wait until we get back to Victoria Nuland and all of those people.
Yeah. So the color revolution aspect of that and what Trump says in that clip, you know, much like they would do if they were trying to destabilize a foreign country, like these intelligence agencies, what they've done against us going back to Trump's first term, it's the same thing. It's foreign propaganda, it's cyber, it's irregular warfare, it's information warfare, it's narrative warfare, and we do it to other countries all the time, and other countries are doing it to us all the time, and Trump's aware of it. It's in my opinion, and I wrote about this in my part 23, why I think the Q drops were even started. Like, he was facing, based on what the Rich Higgins memo said, which I still think is spot on, and Higgins got a shout out not long ago. I don't remember where it was, but what the Higgins memo says is, like, Trump is up against a 24/7 basically continuous attack from mainstream media, and it's not just them, it's like all aspects of entertainment industry, social media, big tech, everything, and he needs to, like, either fight back or we're done. And that's what Trump, I think, did, is he needed to win the narrative war while not being able to use the actual narrative war weapons that are traditionally used. And that's, I think he bypassed it with the Q drops and sparked this whole thing, and we've talked about that many times. And it's undeniable. But what we're seeing now, and there's two really interesting things I want to show you. One is the story that's, like, taking over the news the last couple days in the terms of Israel paying influencers $7,000 to post. And this isn't a new concept. We have foreign countries that spend money on people all the time. We have our own country spending money to have people post things all the time. It's narrative warfare. It's a commonplace. But I have a major issue with this, because when you get down to the nitty gritty, this is something, again, I said on my show, and I think Chris Paul talked about this a little bit on one of his posts yesterday. If we can acknowledge, and I think most of the people in the chat here can do so, that we are in an information war. Like, what we're witnessing, what we're taking part in, is some form of information war, 5th generation warfare, psyops all over the place, trying to control the flow of information, trying to wake up the normies, all these different things. If that's the case and you acknowledge that, and it's like this constant subtle warfare that we're always engaged in, then the weapons of warfare is the narrative. Like you have a show every Sunday called The Narrative. So what does it mean when you have a foreign country paying American citizens money to like change the opinions using narratives, approved narratives by that foreign country of other American citizens? And I equated it to like, okay, let's get rid of the narrative aspect of this and go super normie and pretend that we're not in a narrative war. And we're going to go like, let's pretend this is overt warfare. What we have here is a foreign country paying an American citizen to go shoot their weapons at other American citizens to get them to do whatever the foreign country wants. That is an act of war. What I see this as is a literal act of war in terms of information warfare. And not only should it be banned, but it really should make you think harder about like why does Badlands always complaining about Tim Pool and TPUSA and all these other people? Because we see them as enemy combatants, because that's what they are in the narrative warfare. If they're not actually moving the ball forward, we don't know where they're getting funded. Tim Pool got paid hundreds of thousands of dollars from Russia, like foreign money.
And speaking of Tim Pool, he himself, as you pointed out a few months ago, talked about being invited with a small group of influencers to a closed-door meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu. Was that in 2025 that meeting was, or was he just disclosing that in 2025?
I think that was 2024. It was April.
So
it was April of this year.
I got late word that I was invited to a private roundtable meeting with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. It was under what's called Chatham House rules. For those that are not familiar, this means that you cannot reveal anybody who attended, nor attribute anything to any one individual, as they can deny it, and they would. However, what I love about what the White House is currently doing, when you bring together a bunch of influencers and podcasters who don't know much about journalism culture, whatever you want to call it, not that we respect it tremendously, most people didn't know what Chatham House meant. So with all due respect, it's funny because they bring us into the Blair House, which is where Netanyahu was staying. And immediately people are walking around with their cameras, their phones up. They actually took our phones from us. And I legit thought they would maintain Chatham House rules, meaning you can't quote the prime minister, you can't quote his officials and the other people who were there, but you can report what was said generally. If you wanted an official quote on a specific matter, you would then ask an official once the meeting was wrapped, and they'd provide you the exact quote.
I don't know if he's been paid. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, you're supposed to register as a foreign agent if you're getting money from a foreign country. None of the influencers do that because they all take it from an agency. So, like, they'll have an agency that registers as a foreign agent, and they're receiving the money, and then they pay it out. And with the latest round of Israel stuff, like, you can prove that. But Tim got money from Tenet Media. They got money from Russia. They didn't register as a foreign agent. Tenet got arrested. You know, they played innocent, whatever.
You get plausible deniability which is part of the reason it's set up that way.
Yeah.
You know, and that go ahead.
You can go ahead. I was just gonna say that there's probably influencers that we're hard on that maybe they probably haven't gotten money from foreign countries, and we're wrong about that. But to me, it's like why risk it? Almost, you know, like if it's something I disagree with and it's stupid, I'm gonna voice my opposition to it, especially if I see it not advancing the ball forward, and if anything, like moving it backwards. But go ahead with your...
Yeah, so a few things there. Number one, Tim Pool, what I find interesting about that clip is that I'm not saying he was being paid by Israel. I mean, he seems smart enough to not have taken that cheese because that's an ender, especially not through a proxy. What is he annoyed at in that clip? He's not annoyed at...
about it.
He's not annoyed at Netanyahu. He's annoyed at the other influencers and podcasters who don't understand how journalism works. And in Tim Pool's mind, journalism is all about Chatham House rules. And I would agree with Tim Pool on how he describes journalism, because Tim Pool is a journalist, and he was a journalist at Vice. It's just that, as the American people have found out, especially through Donald Trump, journalists are enemies of the American people. They are the invisible enemy. So yes, they engage in Chatham House rules. They engage in secret meetings. The very word secrecy is repugnant to a free and open society. One little tidbit about that infamous John F. Kennedy quote, by the way, a lot of people don't know this. He was speaking to the American journalists, I forget the actual organization, but he was speaking to the free press. That is who he was talking to when he made that address. But most people in the info war attribute that and say like, oh, he was talking about the deep state. He was talking to journalists. And that's who he was pleading with them to not engage in repugnant secrecy in an open society, because John F. Kennedy was probably saying or starting to catch wind that the journalists that he thought were going to report on the administration fairly were actually trying to subvert the American government, right? And then the other point there on the funding that you talk about, first of all, yes, obviously they should have to declare as foreign agents. Let's give as much benefit of the doubt as we possibly can in a scenario like this. When foreign governments use a proxy, an intermediary, let's say that there are some influencers who genuinely, honestly don't know that that money is coming from the Israeli government. They think it's coming from this agency. Even that is not an excuse because, as you said, why risk it? The bottom line is, if you are being paid to forward a specific opinion, you're an enemy combatant, essentially. I mean, not with a foreign government, but I mean, in general, you are being immoral and you are operating in bad faith.
You're pushing propaganda.
But if you're being paid, if you're getting money because you engage in media, but you are forwarding your opinions and people in your audience are funding you or sponsors, that's different. But if you are being paid to forward a specific opinion, that's the thing that's like, there's all the sirens, guys. You don't ever do that. And it turns out that this is why I actually think that there's signal to the fact that they use the word influencer. I kind of think that's a little bit of them giving themselves shielding when the day comes that they can say, I never said I was a journalist. I never said I was telling the truth or forwarding my opinions. I said I was an influencer. And I think Tim Pool is playing that game a little bit. Like, are you a journalist, Tim, or are you an influencer?
Yeah, I didn't even mean to make this about Tim Pool, guys. So like, I'm more so focusing on like the foreign money here and like the concept of irregular warfare that we've so heavily talked about over the years. And if we're being honest with that discussion and what we think irregular warfare is, then we have to also be honest about who's participating in that info war and who we are defending our country against. And it's these influencers that are getting paid from Israel. Like, this should be completely wiped out across the board. There should be no foreign funding allowed to anybody in America that either goes to change an opinion or change a vote or anything. Because at the end of the day, the only reason they're spending that money, it's not to benefit America, it's to benefit whatever agenda they're trying to push. And it's wrong, it's immoral, and it makes it, to me, it's treasonous. Like, if you get down to like the worst case scenario here, it's treasonous. The influencers themselves, they're probably too stupid to even understand. Like, they don't even know what information war is. They go, oh my God, money, I'll take that. I'll do whatever you want. That's all these people care about. And that's why they're allowed to get the followings they get on all these platforms as well. They are groomed, not that kind of groomed, maybe that kind of groomed, but like, they are groomed to rise up in the platforms where you say the acceptable things till you have a big enough following where you will literally just sell yourself and say whatever you need to say to take money. And it's a huge, huge issue. And one of the things when it comes to like this free speech shit that we are told we're getting, we haven't seen a lick of it yet, in all honesty. This is why I'm so adamant about that actually getting changed, and kind of pissed off that we haven't seen it yet. Now that TikTok's potentially being sold off, maybe we'll see something there. But this is going to continue to be an issue until that gets fixed, until there's an actual level playing field. Because the people out there seeking information, they will get drawn towards the people actually speaking the truth. I truly believe that. And they will be able to tell the difference between, okay, that person's like actually speaking their opinion, and that person is clearly just speaking what they're told to. And another thing that would be helpful, because there are a lot of stupid people out there, is the bare minimum. If they don't ban this stuff, like when on Instagram, for instance, if you're talking about a product, you're supposed to disclose that it's a paid promotion. Well, why would this be any different? If you're taking money to say something about a certain thing, like Israel or Russia, the country doesn't matter here. It does not matter. It's the principle of it. You should have to disclose. Yeah, you should have to disclose that you're doing that. Same thing with the U.S. government, especially with the U.S. government.
And you actually do have to disclose that if it's the U.S. government.
Do you?
So, the U.S. government has to disclose. Well, I guess that's gray area, right? Because they have to disclose when they're advertising for the military. But when it comes to influence operations, I didn't even mean to get on that track, but that word influence is a tricky one. I mean, obviously people are using it to hide behind on an individual level, but governments are clearly using that. We talked about this a few months ago in a different context with regards to the Russia collusion hoax coming back to the fore. Remember, we were talking about the definitions of foreign influence or influence in an election and interference. And, it's kind of funny seeing how many different theaters of the info war and, clandestine operations, that word influence is used as cover. Well, I wasn't interfering with the public narrative. I was merely influencing the public narrative. And, when Donald Trump goes out and gives his opinions on things, I don't think he needs to put a disclaimer at the beginning of it because that's just what he's doing. But there is a gray area if Donald Trump tells somebody else to influence the American people with a narrative. They should disclose whether or not they are working with the administration or anything like that. It's the same thing. It should be the American government. The other word that I thought of besides treason is Tories, another T word. I thought of that in the context of the American Revolution. Tories were American colonists who remained loyal, whether they were literally loyal and doing things to forward the cause of the British Crown, or mostly they just backed the British Crown rhetorically and spiritually in the battle. They were called Tories, and they were considered traitors by American revolutionaries at the founding of the Republic. One of the actual kind of funny things that I often like to deflate people's bubbles around the New England area, there's a lot of historical homes that are registered, like they're in the historical New England Register from the Revolutionary War period and the War of 1812 and all that kind of stuff. And people are very proud of it. They're like, oh, this is a Revolutionary War house. And I'll often tell them, yeah, that's because it was a Tory house. Like, you can look it up. And the Tory houses didn't get burned by the British, but the revolutionary houses did. So, yeah, if your house is still standing, then you probably were a Tory. And we're dealing with a digital war version of that in the modern day.
Yeah. And this is all perfect because I just found this during the show earlier when you were talking. When I was looking for the shutdown DoD contingency planning here, I went to the DoD's website for what they put out when it comes to this stuff. And look what just happened to pop up and be reissued effective September 29th, 2025. Their irregular warfare instruction. And this actually changed it from a DoD directive to a DoD instruction, and a couple interesting pieces in here, not only talking about it, all those things, but something we've talked about many times is about like them telling us about the PSYOPs, right? Yep. Read this last line here. Whether or not the DoD's role in conducting a specific irregular warfare mission is intended to be apparent or acknowledged publicly will depend on the circumstances, including factors bearing on potential applicability of the covert action statute. I don't even know what this is. But yeah, I think it's kind of surprising that a day before we get a story about Israel paying United States citizens $7,000 a post to influence our opinions on things, we get the irregular warfare thing re-updated.
I mean, aside from enemy combatants and treason, which I agree with, at the very least, the disclosure of these people it's an ender. It's a complete ender, career ender for these people. And it's going to have massive, if it gets disclosed much more publicly, if the administration makes a big deal out of it, which I hope that they do, then that grants a couple of things. Number one, forwards the public sifting, where the American people just get more and more educated on foreign funding of the narratives they're consuming, even the very real and totally earnest ones on social media. And it also grants Trump more and more narrative shielding for breaking away, not just from Israel, but from any of our, as he has been using the term lately, so-called allies. That is how Trump tends to refer to our allies. He calls them so-called allies in NATO and beyond.
I see all you people in the chat getting mad at me for saying Department of War instead of, or saying Department of Defense instead of Department of War. I am not the one who issued this document. They have on here DOD and Department of Defense still. It probably hasn't fully gone into effect everywhere. So don't yell at me. Go yell at Hegseth for not changing their issuances. Okay.
Unless the Department of War is a part of a narrative irregular war campaign, and technically it is still the Department of Defense that is issuing these orders.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope it's Department of War.
But...
Department of War makes more sense. Oh, did you see? I was just clicking through my tabs for things to talk about, and Alex Jones is doing his quarterly his quarterly
What happened the last time?
I don't know. This is like the 10th time that InfoWars is on the verge of being shut down. Like the case is it's finally happening. We're going to shut down, blah, blah, blah. And if you listen to the clip, which I did, I shouldn't have, but I did because I wanted to clip it. He talks about fundraising in there like 100 times. And people keep falling for it. Like, how many times does the guy have to say they're going to shut down for them to not actually ever shut down, only to have everybody go buy supplements? It's ridiculous.
Did he announce this today?
Yeah, it got posted today. And here, I even posted about it too. I'll play the clip.
So he's running out of funding, and it's right after.
Federal judge
Israel
greenlights
funding.
shutdown of InfoWars. Alex Jones fires the bat signal on what could potentially be the end of an era. But never forget, no matter what happens, InfoWar never dies because you are the InfoWar. Here's the clip.
But that's why you need to go to the alexjonesstore.com and support right now. If I could just get a few more percentage points of you to really engage by praying and spreading the word and financially supporting. And whatever you do, support the Alex Jones Network at AJN Live on X. Here's a short promo. I'm going to come back with some closing comments. That's why you've got to back us. And as long as you support us and our sponsors, but the variable is you. So go get a t-shirt, go get a ball cap, go get our ultramethylene blue, go get our creatine, go get our bovine colostrum, go get our CMOS, go get it all. Big sale going right now. Ha ha ha!
Big going out of business sale again. It's ridiculous. But
He
more
looks more
importantly,
and more like Bill Hicks as he ages. I would say.
We should probably talk about this a little bit and then get into some of these other topics. This show's been cruising by right now. Yesterday, Trump met with Bibi Netanyahu at the White House, and I didn't watch the clip. I didn't watch the stream. I did see some of the things coming out of there, but the biggie was like they had a trilateral call with the country of Qatar, and now they have this 20-point or 21-point peace plan for Gaza, and they're just waiting on Hamas to like come to terms with it. But this executive order that Trump issued, I still think is super interesting because nobody other than Ghost apparently saw this coming. Apparently there was like a footnote of the story somewhere in some Middle Eastern magazine or something.
Everyone else was talking about Charlie Kirk for a week, and Ghost was talking about Qatar on September 12th.
Yeah, but apparently they were looking for some sort of defense agreement, and they did it. Trump signed this executive order on September 29th. When I did my show yesterday, the 30th, it wasn't on the website. And so today when I was doing my show, I was like, where did this come from? And it's like out of order because it's definitely new. I even went and checked, but it's on the website. And so he signed this thing on the 29th. He didn't tell anybody publicly. When Bibi Netanyahu got there, he must have just like shoved this in his face and had been like, yeah, so if you ever do that again, we are considering that an attack on the United States, and therefore like you would then become our enemy. And this would shut down any moves that Bibi would try to make against Qatar. And I just thought it was interesting.
Well, it's also interesting from the perspective of the sovereign alliance theory of you don't have to go down sovereign alliance rabbit holes to read what you have highlighted here and think it makes sense, right? Broadly speaking, Trump is saying you're risking drawing the United States into a conflict in a zone where we just escaped from a conflict because of our boy Blue. But if you do want to go down sovereign alliance rabbit holes, it is kind of even more signal. You know, for a few years, we've talked about, is the sovereign alliance idea more gravitational, and is it directional rather? Like, are these countries that we're theorizing just kind of moving in the same direction? Or are there agreements in place between these countries that have not been disclosed? This kind of language certainly goes into the latter. It doesn't prove it, of course. But, you know, if Trump is behind the scenes with Qatar and Saudi Arabia, which Saudi Arabia would probably be the real keystone here, of the Saudis saying, like, if you allow your fucking proxy bitch in Israel to attack our allies, you're breaking the terms of our agreements. And those agreements don't have to necessarily be signed. I'm not claiming that Trump and Xi and Mohammed bin Salman have signed documents with each other. But I absolutely believe they have made agreements that are real agreements and that they consider to be binding agreements. And stuff like this doesn't do anything to dissuade me of the notion.
Yeah, the whole Israel situation, again, I don't claim to know everything that's going on over there. I don't study it like other people do. I am intrigued, though, because if you have the underlying concept of, like, it's at minimum, it's a sensitive subject, right? Like, Trump is doing things, and he's operating in a fashion where half the population loves him and half the population hates him just because of how he handles this one thing. And in a lot of ways, he has to do it in almost staying, like, hands off of it. And I think that's one of the things that we've pointed to is Trump's end game here isn't to, like, have us be involved in this at all. We have to be for now, but we want the regional people there to kind of take the helm here and dictate things the way you want it. I'm curious to see how this peace plan plays out, because the last time that they were on the verge of some sort of peace deal, that is when Israel bombed Qatar, and killed out the Hamas negotiators. And so I don't know. And again, guys, there is a distinction in my head anyway. I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but the distinction between Bibi Netanyahu, like the good twin and the evil twin of Israel, like, I'm not, like, Israel as a whole and what Israel is different than the evil twin deep state elements within Israel, which I think Trump is trying to work against. Okay.
Well, and it's the same, you know, if you're mature enough and not retarded and ideological, you would understand that this would be applied to Palestinians as well, right? And Hamas. And that's why it's always an absurd argument when neocons masquerading as MAGA start talking about how the Palestinians voted for Hamas, and that somehow okays Israeli bombing campaigns on the Gaza Strip for the last 30 years that have been branded as strategic strikes. Both can be true. I'm not even talking about rumors about Mossad having to do with the origins of Hamas. Let's leave that aside and pretend that Hamas is this organically homegrown Muslim Brotherhood outfit, grew out of the Palestinian state. That's still, Antifa, we are told, grew out of the American Republic. Does that mean that they're synonymous with the American people, right? You just start bombing them, right? Sovereign Alliance should just start bombing Antifa and any Americans who get caught in the crossfire. They're strategic strikes, bro. So it's obviously a bunch of horse shit. But to your point about you know, the region, we've used the term region of responsibility quite a lot over the last few years, and I thought something that came out of this as part of the peace plan was pretty damn signal. Trump to lead a board of peace for Gaza as part of the 20-point plan. From what I was reading, that board of peace is you know, he talked about Tony Blair being on it, which was strange. I don't know what's going on there. Trump would be on it. But largely, the language there is talking about Middle Eastern players, which is exactly what we've been theorizing for years, of saying, yeah, Mohammed bin Salman, Saudi Arabia, the Iranians, the Israelis, the Palestinians being recognized as a state. And I think the other major thing here, the terminology was not used directly, But if there is a tell here that should but won't put to bed the idea that Trump is being piloted around by Israel and that he's this secret Zionist, should be put to bed, this peace plan lays out a fully paved road, a paved path right to the two-state solution, or something like a two-state solution, which the only person that is currently in this narrative who is publicly vehemently opposed to a two-state solution is Benjamin Netanyahu and all the social media influencers that he pays. So Donald Trump has played coy on this, but this peace plan paves the way to a two-state solution and the recognition of a Palestinian state. Something Chris Paul has been pointing out is that pretty much everybody recognizes the Palestinian state except for Israel and the United States. So this feels to me like Trump, sort of as you said to lead off the segment, the battle space Trump is operating in is sensitive with this topic. So we can't come out and say that term, two-state solution, because people will be very upset. So instead he puts out a 20-point peace plan that if you read it without being a retard, it's the two-state solution. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So anyway, and I thought it was interesting. I saw on the White House website, one of the countries that they quoted in there praising Trump's plan was China. I looked for Russia. The Russians didn't comment from what I saw, but China did comment, and they were like, "We think this is great."
Yeah. Have you been following the Russia stuff lately? I feel like I can't remember even the last like big thing, the paper tiger thing. I feel like there was something else different that like you were like, oh my gosh, the mainstream media is confirming it. And I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, so Ash actually, shout out to Ash, over the weekend or a couple days ago pointed this out to me, and I thought it was freaking amazing. So this is an op-ed published in The Guardian, probably the globalist signal setter. Check out the headline here. Trump and Putin are carrying out a pincer movement on Europe's democracies. Suddenly, it all feels a bit 1939. And then subhead, forget the US president's seeming volte-face on Ukraine this week. He and Putin fundamentally agree that European liberal democracy is the problem. And what is amazing about that, both of those headers, is, first of all, yeah, no lies detected. You are 100% right. Trump and Putin are effecting a pincer on European liberal democracy. They are threats to that democracy. Second, he references 1939. So what is he doing? He just brought Donald Trump into the Axis powers narrative, which I literally wrote and predicted in July and said, this is what they were going to do. That they were gearing up to brand a new Axis, and that the new Axis was going to start as Russia, China, and Iran, and then it was going to include Donald Trump. Eventually, they were going to admit that the new Axis is Donald Trump, Xi Jinping, and Vladimir Putin. So the Axis and Allies inversion. So he just compared him to Hitler and Putin to Mussolini, basically, or vice versa. And just to go back to the first thing I ever wrote in the InfoWar, I said, I can think of no greater story than an alliance of East and West, and no more a terrifying, nationalistic, sovereign pincer for the globalist deep state to be caught in. And now you have the mouthpiece of the globalist corporate media saying Trump and Putin have liberal democracy in a pincer. And the other little thing lost in the noise there is that they're saying, don't believe Trump's statements on Ukraine, which we have been talking about on this show for 3 years. Like anything he says on Ukraine is reverse kayfabe. It's like face fabe. So anyway, I thought that shout out to Ash. I would have probably missed that. And that's one of my favorite headlines I've ever seen, just for me personally.
Yeah, that's still one of those things. The way the narrative cycle, especially coming from Trump, like cycles through, it's like he'll focus on one topic for a couple days or a week, and then he'll go to the next one and the next one, and keeps going around. And right now, that's on an off cycle. Like the Russia Ukraine stories on an off cycle. Like we'll get a little injection now and then with the Truth Social post or something, but it's not the primary focus. And I'm still so curious to see how they resolve that thing, because we all believe, right? I guess I don't want to speak for anybody, but what we've talked about on the show so many times is how the original framework and the original deal that was put in place is going to come back around and be what gets implemented here. And the whole thing that's taking place is much more kayfabe than we realize, even though Trump will publicly sometimes say one thing for the normies, and then, Russia will say privately, and I think they even said this directly, well, what they say publicly and what they tell us privately are two different things. I'm pretty sure Russia directly said that not long ago. And
yes, they did. I'll try to pull it up because I just wrote about this recently.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've actually got the clips here. Let me see. I put an article out called "The Villains We Need," and I've got a couple short ones in there. So Vladimir Putin said the following. Should I read this because it's not audio? It's just a short one. So Putin says, sometimes it seems to me that whatever the Europeans are. Right.
Can you mute?
All right, I'll mute
the video and then read it.
All right, so Putin says, sometimes it seems to me that whoever they, Europeans, are told from the ocean, they will do everything. If they are told tomorrow that we have decided to hang all of you, they will look downcast, being surprised at their audacity, ask only one question, whether it's possible to do it on the ropes of national production. But even here, they'll have a snag, and here it seems to me they will face a failure because the Americans are unlikely to refuse such a large order for their textile industry. That's a very awkward sentence. I saw it translated in other ways, but essentially what Putin said there is, if the US tells NATO to hang themselves, NATO will ask if they can use European ropes. So he's telling them, which the whole theme of that article, or part of the theme of that article, was that I was saying Trump is he put the statement out on his True Social feed a few days ago about Ukraine and everything, and really escalatory. I think we actually did it maybe last week.
Did we?
And
that's right.
And my theory on that, because everybody was like, what do you think of Trump saying he's fully backing NATO and Europe and Ukraine? My theory has been that Trump is forcing NATO and Ukraine to the front of the narrative against Russia while removing us from the narrative. And I think that's what Putin is saying there. The bigger quote came from his aide, who said, now this may be audio.
Вот когда настолько...
All right, never mind. Let me read this one. This is one of his top aides, Yuri Ushakov, and this is what you're referring to. When they are such, this is the interviewer, when there's such contradictory statements by the President of the United States and in general, the American side in general, how can we build relations? How can we build a dialogue? And Ushakov, do you have a recipe for how to work with the American side under such conditions? Ushakov says, there are public statements and there is contact through closed channels. And we take into account the signals that are transmitted both publicly and through closed channels. All of that is factored into our position. I don't know if there's any more here, but yeah, that's, and man, it's like confirm after confirm after confirm of everything we've been saying. They are going to spar publicly while nobody on the American or Russian side cares. And the last confirm there, I think I have in here.
Well, one thing on that before you move on, what he says there, it reminds me of NSPM 34, one of the last things Trump issued at the end of his first term, where it was renaming the National Risk Reduction Center as the National and Nuclear Risk Reduction Center, and that is a closed channel that cannot be shut down. It's from the what's the movie? What's the movie with the nuclear bomb and Morgan Freeman, and why can't I think of it right now?
No, Sum of All Fears.
Sum of All Fears, like where Ryan's on there at the end, they're talking. Like it's that communication line. Trump renamed that, and I always thought, like, weird thing. Why rename it? Why does it matter? But if you think of like him trying to draw attention to things, like, and we've talked about this on a show before, it's very much like he was drawing attention to, hey guys, don't forget about this backdoor, unclosable communication channel that we have with Russia. And so when he said that comment about, like, we have the closed channels that, there's different things being said there, That's the first thing I thought of, was that NSPM from the end of Trump's first term.
Yep, and I had the clip from our show on Wednesday night. So last Wednesday night, there's like a 5-minute clip of us talking about this, and I had said on the back of that Trump True Social post, look for the narrative to escalate between them, but they have given us assurances. If you're reading between the lines, they've given us signals that they know what they're doing. They're in communication, and the next day is when we got this out of Ushakov and Putin, both saying that, especially Ushakov. The other thing I was going to say is that Kirill Dmitriev, who's been like a savage lately, reposted that Ushakov clip. And for anybody who doesn't know, he's also a foreign aide of Putin, and has been posting like Q memes and stuff lately all over the place. And he posted Trump, that he said Trump and Putin are going to make peace for the world, so calling them the peacemakers. So they're being pretty overt about it. And you actually echoed this in our segment about Israel, where you talked about with Qatar. Trump has prepped the narrative battle space now to such a degree that you were kind of outlining it as a fear of what if Israel interferes here. Well, Trump has put them in a position where they can't, because he's going to be able to cast the blame fully on them. If he's like, these are now the parameters with Qatar in the Middle East, and you, Israel, have publicly capitulated to these parameters because Netanyahu came out and endorsed the peace plan that Trump put forward. If they are the ones who look for an off-ramp from that, all the blame goes on them. And I would say that that's exactly the position he's put NATO in. And as I said last Wednesday night, right as Trump was signaling like, hey, NATO, why don't you take the lead against Russia? Emmanuel Macron said, why don't we back off of the whole sanctions thing we're doing over here?
Yeah, I think what's most interesting about both these is like the way Trump has handled it is he's allowed the mandate and support for both conflicts to kind of go out the window. And it's because of the actions of those people. Like Zelensky and what he's done and how NATO has handled the Ukraine war, support for that completely plummeted. And then Israel too, like if you look at polling and Netanyahu himself has acknowledged, and Trump has said it too, how support for Israel and the war there and what they're doing has gone down, which is why they've got these influencers and why they're paying them. It's because of their own actions and the things that they've done here. And when you consider that, by keeping like Israel almost close, but not really like getting directly involved. If you go back and look at the post that Trump did immediately after Israel bombed Qatar and killed the Hamas negotiators, he was like, they let me know, but I had nothing to do with it. This was 100% Israel doing this. Like that's it. Like, we'll never let this happen again. And now we get the defense cooperation agreement, but the mandate is there for whatever happens, however this plays out. If Israel or Netanyahu, the evil twin of Israel, makes a misstep here, let's just say, for instance, because of this defense cooperation agreement, let's say Israel again bombs negotiators in Qatar or something. What does that mean for the United States? Because they just signed this agreement, like they have to go in then, don't they? They would almost have to. They would have to consider that an attack on us. And so what does that do?
Or
and the
they start sanctioning. They start sanctioning Israel, which would be pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine Israel's that stupid, or like the evil twin is that stupid to directly like we're going to go and start a war with the United States. But that would clearly put them in the enemy camp at that point.
Well, and we talked about this a lot during June when the Israel-Iran, the Iran bombing situation, Trump bombing the Iranian nuclear facilities. I had certainly forwarded the theory, I think a bunch of us did, that one way of looking at that was Trump was disarming not Iran, but that war. And specifically, he was removing the impetus and the narrative for Israel to attack Iran. And the tell there, besides us just like bloviating about that, was that Israel didn't really want to acknowledge, and specifically US warhawks even more so, kept casting doubt on the official stance of the US president, of the US military, and of the Iranians, all of whom were saying the facility was destroyed and it'll take X number of years to be back online. The ones who didn't want anybody to believe that were the people in the Israel lobby. So why is that? Because they want the war. And yeah, so it's, to your point, it seems like the same thing is being set up here with Qatar.
Yeah, Matthew David in the chat says Israel isn't going to attack Qatar, and I would agree. They probably wouldn't. They'd be stupid to at this point, but they literally just did. And he goes on to say, well, yeah, that's why they have this EO now. The EO codifies the defense agreement, and so now like everybody's acknowledged and sees like, hey, this agreement exists. Now Israel knows the consequences of any actions they take, and then if it does happen, they're kind of they're signing their own little death warrant, at least in terms of like the evil twin there. Goes to base. Patrick Henry says you will definitely see Israel attack more countries. We'll see what happens. But the last topic I want to get to real quick before we get to the boosts and rants and stuff is this one. We don't have to spend much time on it, but I do think it is notable. Where did I put it? It's the CHIPS Act one.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
Yeah. Let me go back on my Twitter feed here and find it, because we've talked a lot about the switch theory, and the CHIPS Act is a big one we've talked about many times over the years, because Trump is the one who initiated the CHIPS initiative. That he put that into place late in there's a couple executive orders that he issued, one in 2020, and I think one of them was like very early 2021, like the first part of January, having to do with the chip stuff. And then when Biden gets in there and you have the CHIPS Act and Congress passed all this stuff, well, the Biden administration, they were going to take the CHIPS Act funding, they set up a nonprofit, and they were going to dictate where the money flowed to. Well, Trump gets back into office and he's taking the reins back over from his CHIPS initiative. And I think this is kind of massive, and the headline says it all, which is why I just want to bring it up. Semiconductor slush fund, how the Trump admin seized control of Biden's $7.4 billion CHIPS initiative. Counts for more than 50 people. Paint the most extensive look yet at Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick's sudden rethink of a major Biden-era CHIPS initiative and the fallout. So the whole framing of the article is like, oh no, they're cutting Biden's CHIPS initiative, but it was, again, Trump's initiative to begin with. And this is like part of that switch theory where a lot of these things have been set up by Trump first term, carried out by Biden during the 46 period, right? That Trump didn't want the results of. And then now sometime in the second term, when things are in place, you flip the switch and it goes gangbusters. So this is pointing to that.
It's awesome. It's just more confirmation. I think I mentioned this Sunday night, but one of the interesting things down that chips rabbit hole and energy rabbit hole that we've kind of been bumping in and out of for the last few years is when you follow some of the figures. We've talked about public-private partnerships and military-civilian alliance sort of things on the Power Hour for a few years. The idea that obviously the deep state's been using that kind of a system for a long time, that kind of a template. It seems Patriots obviously did that. Devolution is the most obvious example. But when we talk about America First Legal and a lot of these companies that sprung up that had former Trump administration officials doing a bunch of shit during the Biden years. What's interesting is on my travels into researching AI acceleration, semiconductors, the switch theory, and nuclear energy, a lot of the figures involved in the companies that are now getting deals, they are former Trump administration advisors and officials. One that comes top of mind is Chris Wright, is the current Department of Energy guy. He was on the board of Oklo, which is getting all these.
Which I don't like that, by the way. I'm not a fan of former administration officials. Doesn't matter the administration getting some sort of government money in any fashion. I'm not a fan of it.
I would agree with that in a vacuum, but that's why I'm saying I don't think these are real public-private partnerships. I think these are fronts. I've thought that for a long time about Elon Musk and Tesla.
But then it has to be disclosed at some point as a front. Because if something's a front and we're supposed to be okay with it, like the first principles tell us this is not an okay thing. Well, the first principles change if it's a front for something, but if it's never disclosed to us and we're just guessing that, then
there is an out there, I would say, morally, that they are taking, I think, and that is the government, meaning the American people, getting a stake in the company, which I think is what they're doing. Well, that's already happening with a bunch of them.
Well, one of them for sure.
MP Materials, Intel.
And there's talks of others. We'll see if it happens. Yeah. Some of them are like, we're not doing it, but we'll see. But I'm more concerned, like, if we are getting stakes in the companies that former administration officials are working on, then yes.
Yeah.
But if not, I don't like it. Like even some of the arguments that the left makes about Kushner being involved in all these like super lucrative deals from like Qatar and whatever and the Saudi Arabia, I also agree that that's a little off-putting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how come I don't get to negotiate some of those deals and make billions and billions of dollars?
If they put me in the new Lord of the Rings writers' room that Kushner is tangentially involved in, I don't give a shit. I will go full public-private partnership to save Tolkien.
There's so much potential there.
The InfoWar has been heading back to saving Lord of the Rings. We know that's what it's all been about. That's why
I used to play the first game, like the first like Lord of the Rings, or maybe it was I don't know. Back when I was in high school and had like an Xbox.
That was a good one.
It was the Two Towers. I mean, there's so much potential. It could have been so much better, but it was like still pretty darn good. And I think that was the last game they like really did.
Yeah, a lot of them sucked, and it's a layup. All this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was tangential. Ghost was posting about it last night in our chat. But the Saudi, speaking of Kushner, the Saudis are out here, and Ghost and I have been talking about this a lot for the last couple of years. The Saudis are in the midst of a redemption tour that's being sponsored by the Trump administration, and normie leftards are starting to pick up on it. And that redemption tour is coming through American entertainment and Western entertainment. So, you're familiar with the golf world. Started with the Live Golf thing. I would say that was their first big deployment. Now they're involved in, you've got the Paramount Network is involved with the UFC. You've got the UFC going to the Middle East 3 times this year. And now you've got the Saudis buying the largest video game developer in the world.
Tamercy Flats says make Age of Empires great again. I used to love that game.
Yeah, Age of Empires 2.
So
by
good.
far the best one.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I
Based.
wonder if we can still play those games. Are those games still playable?
Yeah, actually, a couple of years ago, the last time I had a little bit of time to play some games, they did a remastered definitive edition of Age of Empires 2. And it's pretty good.
And you can just get on your computer?
Yeah.
Man.
We should do a Badlands Age of Empires.
We should. That'd be so fun.
Yeah.
Would you guys watch that? I don't know if I'd watch it.
Especially, it's got to be number 2, though. The other ones are all dog shit. It's got to be Age of Empires 2.
Is that the one I'm thinking of? Age of Empires?
Probably. That's like the Age of Empires from, 20 years ago.
Definitive edition. Yeah, I think... Yeah, this is the one.
3 and 4, they went into that whole 3D zoomed in bullshit, and it was a bunch of chicanery.
I think this is the one I'm thinking of. But this is we could fight each other, right?
Yeah.
Oh hell yeah!
You just pick 4 players on a map and each pick an empire.
Let's do it, dude.
The problem is if we streamed it, we'd all know what each other were doing on the map. We'd have to do open map.
I bet we could figure out a way to stream it, and we definitely do not need to have this discussion
live. We'd have
live
4 competing streams, and you can watch each stream and feed intel to each Badlander.
No, we could figure it out. We can make it work. I bet there'd be a way we can make it work.
We could even do a monthly gaming thing where we play each other in games, and then chat can see how toxic things truly are.
Yeah.
If only you knew.
What other games are there that you would play?
I haven't been playing anything for a long time, but there's always Warzone, stuff like that.
What's Warzone?
Call of Duty.
Oh, I never really got into Call of Duty.
Chris was a Call of Duty maxi, I heard.
I used to.
I was never good at it.
So back in junior high school, we used to play Halo. We used to set it up with the LAN system or whatever, or LAN.
LAN parties.
4 of us were upstairs and 4 of them were downstairs, and we'd play Capture the Flag, and that shit was so fun.
Halo 2 was like the best gaming experience ever. This is what they took from us.
Yeah.
And I would, to go full circle on this, I will gladly sell out to save Tolkien. And if I have to wrap a turban around my head and join the Saudis as they revitalize American culture, I'm going to do it.
Dude, you should totally start wearing a turban. You and Ghost.
Yeah. And I'll just very subtly get spray tanned darker and darker and darker.
Okay.
Until I'm completely orange.
Okay. Just call Zach, get some tips from him. Anyway, let's get to the boosts and the rants. Before we do, if you want to pull the boosts, I do want to give a quick shout out to our favorite Bright in the Bright household. That's Miss Bright. We got our next conference coming up, and she's obviously our event coordinator. Cocoa Beach, Florida, November 6th through the 9th. It's going to be an awesome time. All these carts are great, and everyone's got a little different flair. This venue is really, really cool. It's right on the beach. It's a lot of fun. Last time we were there, it was great. If you haven't been there or to a guard, I would encourage you to get to one. Badlandsmedia.tv/events. Tickets are on sale. I cannot guarantee that we will be doing single day tickets because we will probably sell out and not have any available, but we might not. So we'll see.
Right.
And we might be able to work with the venue and get a little more space. But
this one's tight. I know that this one is tight. That's what I've been told.
So I would encourage you to get your guys tickets and get it sooner rather than later. But if you already know that you cannot make it in person, we have put our virtual tickets on sale. Number one, we've lowered the price of the tickets across the board, but especially these first 15 days of October 1st through the 15th, we have them at a discounted rate. So I think they're like $30 right now. You can get a virtual ticket for $30. After the 15th, it's going to go up a little bit. So if you already know you're going to be watching, you can get your ticket early. Discounted price. So
that's where you get into the Telegram chat, and the Deadwood one is still bumping. It's very active. I think that's the most active one that has remained this active.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
For like a week and a half. Like they've all been super active during the events, but this one has just continued and just become the GART Telegram chat really just becomes like the hardcore Badlanders chat room for, until the next GART basically. So it's cool.
It's really cool. Really cool. And then sometimes you get the days where it's like, hey, everybody, here's my cat picture and here's my dog picture.
Yeah, that happens a lot, but that's okay. That's what
cool.
The internet's for.
It's good to know each other.
But another good thing, second order effect of it is a lot of people find out about the meetups and everything through there, or they form the new groups kind of by meeting people in there, which is pretty cool.
We're getting some rumble rants in about Age of Empires.
Nice.
We might have to do that, like where we do a stream, and we can do like get some Badlanders in the mix too. Like,
once I get the samurai pumping out,
samurai,
it's over.
I doubt it.
Once you get the samurai out there, you were just. Okay, see, I'm rusty though. I was like getting good at that game a couple of years ago. I was playing with my brother, a couple cousins.
If we're actually going to commit to doing this, I'm going to need to. Like, I haven't played that in how old am I right now?
We have to train.
20 years.
Yeah, we'll have to train.
Okay.
We'll take a month off of Badlands completely.
Well, no.
And we'll just train for Age of Empires.
I'm just curious.
By the way, I'd seen too, John Drake is doing his show Sunday.
Yeah. So John Drake is launching his show, the No Treason podcast with John Drake. It's going to be, it's probably going to become your favorite Sunday Badlands show. It's airing at 8 p.m. Eastern on Sundays. Right. And I think there is a show that comes after it, but I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. No, it'll be right before your show, but I think it's been really good. He's going to go through Lysander Spooner's No Treason, and I have not read that book yet, so I'm going to have him read it to me and talk about it. It's going to be good.
Nice.
But I wonder how.
I think he also expertly handcrafts some art piece for every single person who watches the show.
Yeah.
I was told.
I doubt it, but it seems like a lot. I wonder if our audience would actually like us playing video games. Like, I'm curious.
Probably not.
I don't think they would. But we can talk politics while we do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the whole point. Plus, I mean, Age of Empires would just lend itself to complete cultural debauchery and historical massacres.
I'm just so competitive that I hate losing anything. And if I had lost in a video game to you, I'd kill myself.
We can't let Ghost play, though, because he's just going to explain to us each empire like...
No, I can't. We can't.
I'll be like, Ghost, I like the guys with the swords. Okay, stop it.
If we do that, he can play, but he gets a total of 30 minutes talking for the whole stream, and he just has to use it sparingly. And once he's done, he's muted for the rest of the show.
Shit talk you can do no matter what.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I've ever heard Ghost shit talk, and I feel like that would be long-winded as well. But we have a lot of long-winded people, so I don't know. How long does a game of Age of Empires even take? I don't remember.
It can be a while.
Can
a couple hours.
Okay, well,
yeah,
we'll worry about that later.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got any boosts?
We got one came in tonight from 1027JS, $20,
yeah.
4 DPH.
Awesome.
Otherwise, we are caught up.
Thank you, Joe, my fellow North Dakotan. Appreciate you. We do have some rants here. We got Rocky Top Apologist says 1,000,001. And the reason he said that, I forgot to even talk about this tonight, is this. So the Department of Homeland Security put out, where is it at? Here we go. They put out this. Now arrives the hour of action. And if you guys recall, you've probably heard that a few times.
Time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action.
Anyway, Rocky Top Apologist.
Badlands Media was not paid $7,000 for this post.
No. He responded or quoted it or something, posted it saying, I've seen this 1,000,000 times. And I said, tonight is 1,000,001. And therefore, that's why we got this rant down here. So thank you, Rocky Top. Darylin 10, because it's been a while. Thanks, guys. Thank you. $20. Appreciate you. Susie Q20. First things first, Rumble is sucking. The feed is constantly freezing. I feel like it's a dial-up. Grrr.
They have been having some issues lately, I feel.
Yep, they have been. And you know what? We could do a Rumble ad right now and talk about it. Because if you've been hurt by Rumble's glitchiness, you could probably give a call to Patriot Injury Lawyers. Just kidding. They probably don't handle Rumble injuries, but they do handle car crash injuries, I believe. Got hurt in a car crash? Don't let the insurance companies push you around. Patriot Injury Lawyers are real fighters, trained, experienced, and ready to take on the big guys who want to nickel and dime hardworking Americans. You deserve justice, not red tape. With Patriot Injury Lawyers, you get a legal team that shares your values and won't back down. They've helped countless patriots like you get the maximum compensation they're owed fast. If you've been injured, don't wait. Get the law firm that puts Americans first. Call Patriot Injury Lawyers at 844-PATRIOT or visit us at patriot.law. Thank you, Rumble and Rumble Studio, for the opportunity to do that ad. All right, let's keep going. And I think the reason Rumble's having issues is they've been doing some updates behind the scenes with some things. Like they got the Tether thing coming soon. They're doing some stuff with Studio. Just lots of different things in the works. So
yeah. And they're not funded by foreign governments to do all these things. So unlike other platforms.
Keith O'Higgins, since we are in a federal shutdown now, do feds like Alpha still get paid? He does get some money from Badlands. Might be cut off from the federal funds. The Q Awakening. Good evening, Badlanders. The mission, should you choose to accept it, is to not get hoodwinked at all. Thank you for your attention to this matter, Stormcloud. Thank you, Stormcloud. I feel like I've heard that from somebody time or two. The Real Mega Mama, they have to give 60 days notice to fire, so we want it to last 60 days. Well, if they just have to give 60 days, if they just have to give 60 days notice to fire, well, we can give them the notice today or tomorrow. And then whether or not the government shutdown lasts that long, the notice can still stand. We can fire them after the 60 days.
Yeah, that's fair.
Peter Friedrich over on YouTube gives $10 and a thumbs up.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, Peter. Super Steve 24, probably nothing, but my AFNG Air Force National Guard nephew has been deployed to Guantanamo Bay. I'm hoping they're getting ready for long-term political visitors.
Was he incarcerated at Guantanamo Bay?
That is interesting.
Should find that out.
But also keep in mind that over the past like 20 some years, 25 years, people have worked there without it being like a thing, you know, like people man the base. So may or may not be anything. What?
Getting on the rug.
Sorry. I feel like I'm trying to get people off the rug.
Yeah, you know,
by
there's
saying,
rug enthusiasts in this community, and you just let them have it.
Okay. You guys can enjoy the rug. S2G 109. This is the California Act from 2004. I'm going to look at that because I'm assuming that's the thing you're talking about where they put in fines for going over the budget. Yeah. Check that out. Kilo Higgins, I agree with BB. We need to bomb that Iranian rug factory. Sounds like a 7,000 shekel rant, right?
That's the other thing is we really need the Israel narrative to go away because I'm sick of the BB inflation going on.
I have had
too much BB in the narrative.
I have had comments on my show where, like my daily show, like whenever he says BB, I'm not sure if he's talking about BB Netanyahu or Burning Bright. And so it doesn't really matter.
Ghost picks and
I feel the same about both.
He probably picks the Ottomans.
Yeah, you think so?
I bet.
I don't even remember what countries are in there because I haven't played it so long.
He's being real original. I bet.
Who do you pick?
The Japanese.
You do? Oh,
usually.
Real original there too.
Noobs pick England because they get the longbow.
I don't remember what countries. It's been so long since I played.
Yeah.
Anyway, Harry Vetch, yes sir. Stand on the rug for me means we are watching you. We expect this. Pull the rug and you'll piss me off again. The more on the rug, the better. Not silent, but not violent. I can appreciate that mindset. One with Cats says, calling all Texans within driving distance of San Antonio. Join us Sunday, October 5th at 2 p.m. for a Badlands meetup at La Hacienda on Redland Road. More details on the Badlands events page.
That is just hilarious because I don't know if I well, you had mentioned that in the Telegram chat, there's a lot of cat stuff that happens. And I said there's a lot of meetup information. And this is one with Cats who's sending information about a Badlands meetup.
Yeah, and if you go to our website, badlandsmedia.tv/events, not only can you get your guard ticket, but we have all the meetups listed down here. And they're constantly getting updated. So make sure you guys go check it out. If you haven't joined a group yet, I'd encourage you to find one. That little red button there that says find local group. So these things are awesome, great time. And sometimes Badlanders as hosts will attend it as well. So the final demand, millions of Christians like my mom could watch Trump, Hamas, BB at a peace signing. BB stabs Hamas, killing them on live TV, and they will still defend Israel because of the Bible damn Balfour Declaration. I'm assuming ran out of characters there. But yeah, there's a lot of people like that.
Hamas is not a person though.
Just kills the ideology.
He just kills Hamas on TV. Right there at the press conference.
Killed it. Keith Higgins, isn't fifth generation warfare, it's fifth column warfare? The Geneva Convention and IHL, International Humanitarian Law, recognizes special interior countries' combatants as spies. RICO exposes them.
Interesting.
I'm going to have to dig into that. What are your thoughts on Trump allegedly accepting $230 million from AIPAC? Is that a real thing?
I don't know.
I don't know if that's genuine. I mean, I'd have to see proof of it, like legit proof, and I don't know. Let's see what actually happens with the rest of how Trump handles this Israel situation, because I don't know. He can take the money all he wants if he ends up coming out on top at the end of the day. What's the
TrackAPAC.com says our latest analysis uncovers $230 million in spending by pro-Israel interest groups benefiting President Donald Trump since 2020. A lot of wiggle room in that sentence.
Yeah. But, I mean, just the first principles of it, I don't think any foreign government should have any money coming to the United States to any politician or citizen for the purposes of changing a vote or getting a vote or changing an opinion.
But I'd also be okay with Donald Trump fundraising off of swamp creatures to then drain the swamp, because I think he's been doing that for a long time. Bruce Wayne hosted Gotham socialites and the Gotham Deep State at his soirees, and he fundraised off of both of them. And then he installed Harvey Dent as DA to try to take them down.
Look how that panned out.
Yeah, that's true. Didn't turn out very well, actually.
Yeah. You just debunked yourself. Yep. What a terrible point you just made. Keith O'Higgins. So it took only 35 years for the United States to offer bombing and invasion insurance policies. Think the Kingdom of Kuwait were the underwriters for the premium charges? The final demand. How is anyone in Gaza still alive at this point? Pics suggest the entire region is rubble. No hospitals, no medical treatment, no food. Constant genocide. Seriously, do you guys think this war is real? I haven't seen it firsthand.
Described to us.
Yeah, I haven't seen it firsthand.
That's what I'd say.
Yeah. Alpha Warrior Show. I am now known as Rabbi Alpha.
He's talking shit about fantasy football in a later rant, and I'm still mad about week 3. Jordan Sather defeated me live on the narrative with Jordan Love.
Have you won a game yet?
I won week 2. But I lost 2 of my guys. And Jordan beat me by like 3 points.
Wow. Sounds like just a bunch of excuses. Miss Rhea Freedom Fighter. Hey, John, you're doing great, buddy. Love you both. Thank you, Miss Rhea Freedom Fighter. Appreciate that comment. Because I can never tell if it's sarcastic or not. Julie JN is now a monthly supporter. Must be re-upping that credit card. Sometimes you got to do that on Rumble, guys. Because I know she's been a supporter for a while. Jay Drake, 83. My normie buddy watched Codex 9/11 and he said it broke his brain in a good way. Brad Zerbo equals the breaker of brains. Love that. Harry Vetch, I will crush AOE 2. I'm on BB's team. My wife is a good +1 for AOE. Many years fighting each other. Taught her everything I know. Well, that's cool. Deborah Stars says, John sent you an email today. Finally got that email connection going. I will respond at some point. Oh, I missed this one. I'll get back to that. BB, keep going with your radiant seeing and hearing leading to radiant expression.
Hearing? Thanks. I will, actually.
It's funny that she says radiant seeing because you're colorblind.
Yeah. Maybe I'm seeing the world the way it is.
Maybe. Harry Vetch, I will crush. Oh, I just read that one. Trebs and Cavalry. Meat shields up front with longbows. Hold the attention and cav mop up while the Trebs crush the critical infrastructure.
You get the samurai in there, wreck and shop before you can spin up the cavalry. All you need is a little bit of pike, a few pikemen. Cavalry ain't nothing.
Crazy. The Alpha Warrior Show. Who is first place in Badlandia fantasy football? Who is last? So Alpha, I believe, is in first place. It is very early still, though. I don't think I've ever been in a fantasy football team league where the person in first place after week 3 or 4, whatever it is, ends up winning the league. So I don't know.
Things have not been going well for me, but I will say
in football, or just like on a personal level generally, or
just all around. Yeah. but I will say my Drake May pick, not bad. A lot of people besmirched the Drake May pick. They were like, "Oh, Drake May, whatever." 17 points week 1, okay, not anything crazy. 30, 24, 27.
Okay, but if that's like your takeaway of, okay, I know I haven't won a game, but my Drake May pick, like that's...
Well, dude, I lost Malik Neighbors. Like, that was a good pick, too.
Injuries happen.
28-point receiver.
Good fantasy football managers can outplay their injuries to their players.
They cannot outplay the fact that you can't swap somebody out when a morning football game in London starts.
Hey, man.
When they
should have been paying attention Saturday night.
They didn't say he wasn't. They didn't say he was inactive until the game started.
Neighbors?
No, Jalen Warren.
Oh yeah, that happens. That happens. Well, that's why you don't play people who we're not sure if he's playing.
He was upgraded from questionable to active.
Oh, whatever. Okay, stop complaining. HRBL Amand says at HRBL Amand. Thank you.
Nice.
Tamarack Flats says AOE2 downloading. Here comes the Huns. Hell yeah. I'm going to have to go download this shit now too.
Yeah.
Keith O'Higgins, APAC's contribution should always be multiplied by 6 million. And then Mystery of Freedom Fighter, John, I'm not being sarcastic. I know, I just like to say.
That's what you might say, though, if you were being sarcastic.
That is what I would say if I was being sarcastic. But with that, that is all the the rants that we got. So
nice.
I do not know what to play for an outro. I did not think of that. Do you have any ideas?
5-minute clip from last week where.
Yeah, if you want to do that, let's do it.
We talked about.
Or how about
or a shorter one?
We do a much shorter one where we do. Let's do this one. Trump talking about the applause versus Biden talking about the applause from the military. It's about 26 seconds, 30 seconds. So we'll end with that. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. I'll be back on tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern on the Daily Herald, and I'll also be joining Burning Bright Sunday, sounds like, for the narrative.
Well,
so,
invite pending, but we'll see.
We'll see if he invites me, but he did invite me already. So I have accepted the invite publicly, so I think it's going to happen.
Should be good. We'll think of some good narrative shit.
Cool. All right, everybody. You guys have a great rest of your evening. We'll see you tomorrow. Oh, and I'm going to raid you guys over to Brad after the show because I think he's live tonight. So catch you later.
Oh, Yankees, Red Sox are tied 1-1 now. That motherfucker.
Oh, yeah. I wish I could contribute to that conversation, but the Twins took 4th to last place this year, and I have nothing I'm allowed to say. So
I know people don't like the Red Sox these days, but everybody universally hates the Yankees. So
I universally hate both those teams. They both suck. I hate them. Okay. Catch y'all later.
I've never walked into a room so silent before. This is very. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. You're not allowed to do that. You know what? Just have a good time. And if you want to applaud, you applaud. And if you want to do anything you want, you can do anything you want. And if you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave the room. Of course, there goes your rank. There goes your future. But you just feel nice and loose, okay? Because we're all on the same team.
Just clap for that, you stupid bastard.